Hello everyone. I have a request, please. When the minister comes in together with the NDPP, can we all rise? We're just waiting for them. They'll be coming now. You can be seated. You can be seated, please. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Xolisile Khanyile. I'm your program director for this event. The Honorable Minister Michael Masutha, the NDPP, Advocate Shaun Abrahams, Deputy National Directors of Public Prosecutions, my colleagues, the DPPs, and the special directors sitting in front here, the CEO and the Deputy CEO of the NPA, honorable guests, members of the media present here, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome. Let me thank each and every one of you for having made time out of your very hectic schedule to join us this afternoon, and it is my pleasure and privilege to welcome you all. As you are all aware, we are all gathered this afternoon at the request of our Honorable Minister, who is here to formally introduce and welcome our newly appointed NDPP, Advocate Shaun Abrahams. I won't waste time. We want this program to be as short as possible. We'll open this session by getting a song from the NPA choir that will be singing the national anthem. They'll be singing from where they are because there is no space here. The NPA choir, can you please lead us, and can we all stand?
See
We'll now be receiving a welcome message from Advocate Lungi Mahlati. Over to you, Lungi.
Thank you, Program Director. My name is Lungisile Mahlati. Lungile is my younger brother. Program Director, I have taken heed of your call that you want this program to be as short as possible, and I am therefore not going to waste any more time and get straight into my business. The Honorable Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, the National Director, Advocate Shaun Kevin Abrahams, colleagues, honored and distinguished guests, members of the media here present, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm not quite sure if I am the right candidate for this kind of task, namely the welcoming of the NDPP in this organization. You see, Mr. Minister, about 3 years ago, I was standing right here in this podium expressing words of welcome to Mr. Mxolisi as National Director. He is now gone. It does seem that my touch is not lasting, but I do hope with the new National Director it's not going to be as short as it was with Mxolisi and the previous National Directors. But I think my task is a bit simple today, and on behalf of the National Prosecuting Authority as a whole, and in particular the Directors of Public Prosecutions here present, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you, sir, not home, because this has been your home for the past 17 years or so, but to welcome you to your position as National Director of Public Prosecutions, and to simultaneously congratulate you on your appointment to this unenviable position. Your appointment marks the 4th National Director in the National Prosecuting Authority's 17 or so years of existence. I must say, the record change in leadership is nothing to be proud of. But as opposed to your predecessors, we have the appointment of a young man, and from within the National Prosecuting Authority itself. This we see as a welcome innovation. You were part of this ship when additional building blocks were added to strengthen it. I refer here to the 5 key values that this organization prides itself on, namely integrity, accountability, service excellence, professionalism, and credibility. Yes, at the time, you were but a junior member of the ship's crew. But now, Shaun, because that's what I will continue calling you, you have grown up to be a man, and as its captain, the ship's captain, you have now been entrusted with the difficult task of steering it to calmer waters. These 5 values that I've referred to will guide you in the execution of your tasks. As head of this organization, we expect you and all of us to lead it with pride and away from all disreputable conduct and or practices, and to take it to heights beyond the citizenry's expectation. Lead it with integrity, harbor no fear, entertain no favors, and display no prejudices. And lastly, as a servant of the people, the victims of crime in particular, do not forsake the guiding values enshrined in Batupili. As a serving member of the NPA and a prosecutor of no less than 17 years' experience, we know that you know where this organization wants to be. Under your leadership, let this organization shine and continue to be in the public debate, not for bad reasons, but for good reasons this time around. make us all good, make us all proud, of being part of it. Some years, when some of us are no longer in this organization, we would like to point back and say, that organization, the NPA, we were part of it. Let's do that with pride. Let's not shun away. We know that as a leader of this organization, you have difficult prosecutorial and other decisions to take. But remember, this organization is still imbued and blessed with loyal and experienced prosecution cadres. They are at your disposal. Use them. In closing, Program Director, allow me to remind the National Director not to forget the foot soldiers out there in the coalface, talking about the prosecutors. They are carrying out the mandate of this organization. They are reasonable in their expectations and would want to continue experiencing the NPA as an employer of choice. Their job is not a glamorous one. It is a cold and lonely place to be, and yet pleasing, as they and us are lawyers for the people. They make up the face, and as I say, and that is spine of the organization that you now lead. I do recall, not trying to put you, in a spot here in NDPP, that shortly after your appointment was announced, you and I had a chat, and you undertook, to visit, the regions, to meet with the people on the ground. Finally, we're excited about your youth, about the youth in you, and trust that with it will come new perspectives and insights. We hope that you will, both as an individual and a professional you have been, you will find true fraternal spirit and a sense of belonging in your new position, and to this end, we pledge our support to you. I thank you.
Thank you, Putlungi, for the words of wisdom, and I could see that the NDPP was listening attentively. From now on, I'll call Dr. Ramayite. Dr. Silas Ramayite will present to you the Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Program Director, and good afternoon. Let me start by recognizing and acknowledging the presence of the Minister, Advocate Masutha, Member of Parliament, the presence of the newly appointed National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Shaun Abrahams, as well as my colleagues, the Deputy National Directors of Public Prosecutions, Vili, Nomvula Nomkobo, my colleagues, the DPPs, Advocate Mzinyati, DPP North Gauteng, Advocate Chauke, DPP South Gauteng, Advocate Smith, DPP Northwest, Advocate Dikok, DPP Western Cape, Advocate Mahlati SC, DPP Eastern Cape, Grahamstown and Bisho, Advocate Nuku, DPP KZN, Advocate Tenga, DPP Northern Cape, Advocate Madolo, DPP Eastern Cape, my colleagues, the Special Directors of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Mkhwebi, Mr. Dawood Adams, the CEO, Acting Deputy CEO, the corporate managers in the NPA, staff members, members of the media, fellow countrymen and women. My duty and brief today is very brief. That is to introduce to you the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, who is present here today to present to us the newly appointed National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Shaun Abrahams. Advocate Chililo Michael Masutha was appointed Minister of Justice and Correctional Services on 25 May 2014. He was born in Valdesia, a small village which I'm familiar with in the northern part of Limpopo, and grew up in Chayandima, also a place that I'm quite familiar with. He went to Siloa School for the Blind, matriculating in 1984, He obtained a B.Juris degree at the University of Limpopo, then the University of the North, or TEFLUOP, in 1988, and also obtained an LLB degree from the University of the Witwatersrand in 1989. While studying, he became passionate about the rights of people with disabilities and founded and participated in movements for disabled students at both universities respectively, advocating for the provision of appropriate support and challenging the apartheid regime's treatment of the blind and other disabled people. In 1986, he was a founding member of the Northern Transvaal Association for the Blind. From 1989 to 1996, he was a member of the National Council for the Blind's Executive Committee, where he advocated for the removal of discriminatory laws against blind people, especially in protective employment. He was a co-founder of the Equilac program of the Southern African Federation. In August 1991, he participated in a delegation of the Human Rights Committee of Disabled People to the United Nations. In 1995, he was admitted to practice as an advocate of the Supreme Court of South Africa, which includes the High Court, of course. From 1991 to 1996, he was director of the Disability Rights Unit at Lawyers for Human Rights, a project which was a joint initiative with Disabled People South Africa, providing legal assistance to persons unfairly discriminated on disability grounds. In 1996, he was appointed as head of legal services in the Department of Social Development, where he specialized in children's rights and social security law. Minister Masutha has been a member of Parliament since 1999, representing the African National Congress. He has served on a number of committees, including the Justice and Constitutional Development Committee, the Rules Committee, and the Constitutional Review Committee. He chaired the Social Development Committee, the Standing Committee on the Auditor General, the Subcommittee on Review of Rules, the Ad hoc Committee on Delegated Legislation, the Ad hoc Committee that nominated the current Public Protector. He also served on the Judicial Service Commission from 2004 to 2009, and also served on the Magistrates Commission. In July 2013, he was appointed as Deputy Minister of Science and Technology, and in May 2014, the President Zuma appointed him as Minister of the expanded Department of Justice and Correctional Services. Minister, may I then take this opportunity to invite you.
Dr. Ramaite, thank you very much. And let me immediately acknowledge the top leadership of the NPA, including yourself, Dr. Ramaite. And maybe pause to say that I was wondering when you were going to finish with that introduction, because I always take cue from somebody who once said that when they read his CV, he feels as if they are reading his obituary, and he wonders whether he should start thinking about preparing for his funeral the following day. But yes, today is a day of celebration, not so much of long speeches. I certainly do not intend to give a speech myself. I think my task really is to welcome and congratulate the new NDPP on his appointment. I didn't know much about him myself, and I'm sure I speak for many people out there. But I must say that the last few days of interaction with him have left me feeling very comfortable that this is the man I think I can work with in taking the organization, the NPA, hopefully to another level. whilst acknowledging, of course, the many achievements and the progress it's made over the years to be where it is today. But I do believe that the President, in his wisdom, has bequeathed to South Africa a true leader at a time when the organization desperately needed one. And in our private conversations, I did indicate to him that it was not an accident. The President did not stumble upon his name. I had a session with the President when he conveyed his decision after we had made, as a panel, presentations on various possibilities. And he indicated that he has decided that this organization needs a career prosecutor from within who exudes a number of the characters that have already been alluded to by those that have just spoken before me, which attributes very much describe who Shaun Abrahams is. Exuberance of youth, a sense of what shall I say in English? You know, the verve, the sense of energy. And maybe it's befitting that we have a young person assuming such a strategic role, because after all, we are a young nation. We've just turned 21. If you recall, we were born in 1994. I'm sure everybody around here was born by then. But we're a young nation also because the majority of people in this country are young. And perhaps we, the older ones who are growing gray hair, should start acknowledging that it's about time that the majority prevail and that young people assume their rightful place in leading this nation in various capacities. And I think Shaun is a representation of that notion. We really look forward to his leadership. This organization, at least over the past 12 or so months that I was appointed, has been challenged in many ways, especially at the leadership level. And I believe that his appointment is sure to bring tranquility and stability, especially at the helm. That is critical to lead the organization out of the kind of stormy weather that it's been through in recent months to a cruising path where there's less turbulence. But to achieve that, Shaun, you're going to need the support of all around you. And I hope this afternoon it is a day and a moment where all of us in the organization are going to make a pledge that we're going to give you unwavering support, because I think you're going to need it. So really, like I said, it's not a day for a speech for me, hence I didn't prepare one. It's really a day for hugs and handshakes and smiles. Because indeed, we believe that this is a chapter in the life of the organization that many of us long awaited. And now that it has come, we have no excuse not to smile and hug and shake hands. Shaun, brother, welcome to the hot seat. Make sure you don't burn. Those of us who have had, be it a short stint in these hot seats, can share one or two stories and experiences. Take it easy, go with the flow, and yeah, it can get hot in the kitchen sometimes. You may want from time to time to take a short break and escape to the lounge or the dining room, but ultimately you are the cook, so you can't quite avoid the kitchen. And I wish you all the best of luck ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister, for reminding us of the importance of the spirit of togetherness. Together we can move forward stronger and matured and take this organization to where it's supposed to be. The next speaker will be the man himself, the NDPP. Over to you, NDPP.
I normally look a little bit younger. I've aged in the last 2 weeks. Program Director, Honourable Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Deputy National Directors of Public Prosecutions, Directors of Public Prosecutions, Special Directors of Public Prosecutions, Acting Chief Executive Officer of the National Prosecuting Authority, fellow members of the National Prosecuting Authority, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a great honor for me to be entrusted with the responsibilities of leading this all-important institution in our country within the Justice and Crime Prevention Security Cluster. By appointing me to the position of National Director of Public Prosecutions, the President placed immense confidence and responsibility in me to deliver justice to the people of this country without fear, favour or prejudice. This is certainly the greatest honour that could be bestowed on any career prosecutor. I am deeply humbled and heartened by all your confidence in me and the continued congratulatory messages, well wishes, kind words and commitments of support. I endeavour to hold each and every one of you accountable to your commitments of support. Yes, I'll be a slave driver. I'm informed by my communications team that there was a flurry of support messages on the NPA Facebook page after my appointment was announced, and the page received a record 18,000 hits within a few days, as opposed to the normal 3,000 hits. As you know, I'm a career prosecutor who came to the ranks of administrative clerk to that of a prosecutor. I'm one of you. I stood where you stood. I feel the pain that you feel. I face the many challenges that each and every one of you face today and have faced in the past. Would you believe it? I prosecuted my first case in March, April 1997, when I was merely 21 years old. Fortunately, I was born after 1994. I am extremely proud to say that I was part of an in-house mentoring program in the NPA at the inception of my career. A few months ago, I reached the end of my road in my career as a prosecutor. At least that's how I felt. I was ready to throw in the towel and embark on a different journey. I had to be honest with myself, and I wasn't. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. I knew my glass was half full or half empty, whichever way you want to phrase it. I felt I still had so much to offer the NPA, and I couldn't just walk away. I stayed. It appears you stuck with me. Prosecutors play a crucial role in the administration of justice and are indeed the proverbial cardinal gatekeepers of the criminal justice system. It is one of the highest callings, a noble profession indeed, a profession one should be extremely and immensely proud of. We are bound by the Constitution, the values and ethos, and the rule of law. We are further guided by the Code of Conduct and Ethics of Prosecutors and the prosecutorial guidelines. We must remain mindful of our obligations under the United Nations guidelines of the role of prosecutors adopted by the 8th United Nations Congress in the Prevention of Crime and the Treatment of Offenders, held in Havana, Cuba, in the week of 27 August to 7 September 1990. It inter alia outlines our key responsibilities as including the institution of prosecutions. Who do we prosecute? When do we prosecute them? On what charges? Is there sufficient, reliable, and admissible evidence? It further places responsibility as to guide investigations, provide technical and legal guidance to investigating agency, which we commonly refer to as prosecutor-guided investigations. It requires of us to perform our duties fairly, consistently, expeditiously, and with respect for the protection of human dignity and the upholding of human rights, thereby ensuring due process in administration of justice. Also guided in our context by Bato Pele principles. It requires of us to execute our responsibilities impartially. We are required to protect the public interest by being objective and paying due regard to all information, favorable or unfavorable to a case and or to the advantage or disadvantage of an accused. It importantly requires us to maintain the greatest level of confidentiality, considering victims' concerns and advising them of their rights in accordance with the Declaration of Basic Principles of Justice for Victims and Abuse of Power. It's incumbent upon us to pay due regard to the investigation and protection of grave violation of human rights and crimes recognized by international law, of course, as criminalized domestically. It requires us to refuse to make use of evidence obtained through unlawful means and which constitutes the violation of a suspect's fundamental human rights and bringing the perpetrators of such abuse to justice. We must at all times uphold the values, ethos, responsibilities of the office which we have been entrusted with. We must commit to uphold and protect the Constitution and the fundamental rights entrenched therein, and enforce our laws without fear, favor, or prejudice. Prosecutors are first and foremost officers of the court. I've known Dr. Ramayiti for many, many years, at least for the last 10 to 12 years. And in that period, almost on a daily basis, he regularly reminded me of this. We are expected to exercise our duties without fear, favour or prejudice as administrators of justice in maintaining and or restoring public confidence in the administration of justice. We are required to cooperate with other stakeholders in the criminal justice system, such as the police, the courts, legal profession, government, and institutions domestically and internationally. We are not an island. We need the support of our stakeholders to be able to bring justice to the people of society. This is not my request to you. The Constitution demands this of us. It demands this of each and every one of you present here today and listening from elsewhere. How do we exercise our prosecutorial discretion? As you should know, prosecutorial discretion has an impact on the criminal justice system in terms of its efficiency and is capable of destroying people's lives, people's careers, and of course, people's reputations that they've built up for many, many, many years. It is incumbent upon each and every one of us to exercise such discretion responsibly with due cognizance to the rule of law, constitutional values, and the integrity and the responsibility of the office that we so dearly hold. We are ultimately duty-bound to assist the court in seeking the truth. That's what we are, truth seekers. We are not persecutors, we are prosecutors, lawyers of the people. I implore upon you today that prosecutors must refrain from falling into the trap as set out by John Tarzano, Joyce McGee, and Ilana Holt, article titled Improving Prosecutorial Accountability, the Justice Report 2009, page 14. Open quote. When prosecutors form a theory of guilt for a defendant, confirmation bias and belief perseverance can threaten their ability to adjust their thinking, even when confronted with evidence strongly challenging the accuracy of their theory. Psychological biases can lead prosecutors to favor evidence that confirms their theory, while ignoring or discrediting contradictory information. This phenomenon often leads to a tunnel vision mentality where prosecutors and law enforcement focus all of their attention and efforts on building a case against a single suspect, often overlooking weaknesses in their case or leads pointing to other suspects. Tunnel vision is particularly dangerous when the prosecution's theory is wrong and the defendant is, in fact, innocent. Close quote. In Boucher versus Queen, open bracket, 1955, close bracket, SCR 16, and in which the Constitutional Court here in South Africa, in the matter of State versus Sheikh and others, 2008, Volume 2, South African Law Reports, 2008, Constitutional Court case, paragraph 67, referred to, the following was said in reference to the purpose of a criminal prosecution and the role of a prosecutor. Open quote. It cannot be overemphasized that the purpose of a criminal prosecution is not to obtain a conviction, it is to lay before a jury what the Crown considers to be credible evidence, relevant to what is alleged to be a crime. Counsel have a duty to see that all available legal proof of the facts is presented. It should be done firmly and pressed to its legitimate strength, but it must also be done fairly. The role of a prosecutor excludes any notion of winning or losing. His function is a matter of public duty, than which in civil life there can be none charged with greater personal responsibility. It is to be efficiently performed with an ingrained sense of dignity, the seriousness and the justness of judicial proceedings. In the self-same matter, and the self-same paragraph, the court commented on prosecutor-guided investigation. And in this regard, it said the following, open quote, "The purpose of an investigator is to hand over as much evidence to the prosecutor as can be lawfully obtained. It is in the best interest of all, even that of the accused, for the prosecutor to have as much evidence available as possible in her or his position as the truth seeker," close quote. The National Prosecuting Authority Act came into operation on the 16th of October 1998. I am extremely fortunate to inherit an institution consisting of a very diverse and vastly experienced lawyers and administrators. Many of you have worked tirelessly to deliver justice to society. Whether you worked as a prosecutor or whether you worked as support staff, your contribution has been as valid and it counts. Many of you have contributed to the NPA reaching its targets and achieving a clean audit for the second year running. I congratulate you on your efforts. But the work has only just begun. Many of you may know that Willie Hofmeyer is ordinarily the first lawyer to arrive at the VGM building and sometimes the last to leave. I assure you, he does have a life. During one of our recent engagements, Willie remarked he is so pleased that the new NDPP works longer hours than he does. I must add, Willie sent me a message at around 3:30 on the morning of Friday, 3 July 2015. And I read this message, and it said the following, open quote, "I think I beat you tonight." Close quote. Willie, you'll never know whether you beat me or not. But that is the attitude and work ethic that we should aspire to. We should always strive to be the best in our given position or our chosen vocation, despite all the challenges that we face. Seasons come and seasons go. So too will the challenges come to pass. I want to leave the prosecutors with some food for thought. How many times in your career have you appeared against eminent senior counsel when an accused person wished that you had actually been his or her legal representative instead of representing the state? When you prepare for court the next time, please have that in the back of your mind. That is the type of service that society demands of us. That is the high standards that we should set for ourselves going forward. We cannot settle for less. How much have we done since the dawn of democracy and the commencement of the NPA Act in respect of transformation initiatives, skills transfer, and mentorship? What type of legacy do we want to leave when we retire from this profession? Are we building young leaders of tomorrow, or are we breaking them down to advance self-interest? Are we affording our people enough opportunities and scope for development and growth? I stand before you today. I am a product of mentoring. In fact, I am a product of selfless mentoring. I am a product of selfless transfer of skills. And yes, I am a product of opportunities afforded to me as a result of transformation initiatives during key moments in my early career. I made those opportunities count. I implore upon you today, whatever opportunities come your way, make it count. Unfortunately, there are a few unpleasant issues that we as an institution have to deal with. We cannot shy away from it, nor can we shy away from our responsibilities. In particular, although we have enjoyed many successes under challenging circumstances, the NPA has been in the media over the last 2 years for all the wrong reasons. Much of it has been self-inflicted. Without delving into the merits or demerits of the matters affecting the NPA, I can assure you that I have been briefed in respect of most of them, and I have scheduled engagements to be briefed in respect of others. Today is certainly not the time nor the place to venture any further therein. As the Honourable Minister has said, today is a day for celebration. This, however, should not be construed as me remaining silent or attempting to remain silent on these issues. I assure you, I do not intend to remain silent on the issues. I have met with my communication team. I've engaged with the Deputy National Directors of Public Prosecutions in this regard. I appreciate that the public needs to be taken into confidence on a number of issues through the media. I also appreciate the important role of the media. I also appreciate that the media, in most circumstances, would like to report responsibly. I, along with my Deputy National Directors of Public Prosecutions, the Directors of Public Prosecutions, the Special Directors of Public Prosecutions, and my communication team intend to engage the media fairly regularly as a collective on issues relevant to the media and of public interest, without compromising the proper administration of justice and the fair trial rights of accused. Of course, we intend to do so every 6 or 8 weeks, or as often as circumstances may require. This will be a flexible approach. Any announcement of such media engagement will be communicated to the media through my spokesperson, Advocate Luvuyo Mfaku, and or the Head of Communications, Ms. Bulawa Makeke. One issue that I would like to speak of today is the issue of camps in the NPA, as alluded to in the media and conflated by senior members of the NPA. We are lawyers, officers of the court. We are prosecutors. We are not politicians. Under my watch and leadership, there is just one camp. I assure you it is the NPA camp. Guided by the Constitution, the rule of law, and the integrity of the office we hold. We will do so by ensuring an all-embracing and inclusive approach. There will be no room for anti-NPA sentiments. There is certainly no room for abuse of prosecutorial powers and discretion. We must be mindful that the integrity of this institution must be protected at all times. The responsibility lies with each and every one of us. It is our institution which we must hold dearly as the cornerstone of delivering justice to this community. It is extremely concerning to have observed, especially so over the last 2 years, how information is leaked to the media and to the public, wittingly or unwittingly. It can only be NPA officials. In most instances, very senior NPA officials. This kind of conduct cannot be condoned and clearly places the NPA into disrepute. I take note of the relationships certain officials in the NPA have with the media and other entities. It is thus only appropriate for me today to remind NPA officials, past and present, of the provisions of Section 41, subsection 6 of the National Prosecuting Authority Act. I invite you to familiarize yourself with these provisions. In essence, these provisions require you to obtain my permission and/or my delegate's permission to disclose any information which came to your knowledge or the contents of any book, document, or item which came into your possession during the performance of your functions. In the last 2 weeks, I have not delegated that to anyone. And I can assure you that some of my predecessors have not delegated that to anyone. Of course, there are exceptions. I implore you not to place me in a position to use this section. I will not hesitate to do so. In terms of section 41, subsection 7, a person convicted of contravening section 41, subsection 6 can be imprisoned for a period not exceeding 15 years and/or a fine and/or a period, or both a fine and a period of imprisonment. It cannot, under these circumstances, be business as usual. In conclusion, the core responsibilities of the NPA is prosecutions. That responsibility is largely dealt with on a daily basis by the NPS, under which the directors of public prosecutions fall, along with other business units such as the Priority Crimes Litigation Unit, the Special Commercial Crime Unit, the Sexual Offences Unit, which must conduct their work in consultation with the directors of public prosecutions in whose physical jurisdiction such matters reside. It is incumbent on all support structures to the core responsibilities of prosecutions to provide sleek, efficient, and effective support. These, of course, include the Legal Affairs Division, the Corporate Services, the Asset Forfeiture Unit, and the Office for Witness Protection. Asset forfeiture and witness protection are inherent in many prosecutions, and their results, of course, speak for themselves. Their work, too, must be exercised in consultation with the various directors of public prosecutions. The support structures must do their utmost to make the lives of prosecutors easier to fulfill their core responsibilities. Corporate services, as I've earlier on mentioned, have remarkably achieved a clean audit over the last 2 financial years. The hard work of the support staff that contributed to this achievement has to be commended. Let us not forget to extend a warm gratitude to the cleaning staff and security here at the VGM building and at other NPA offices throughout the country. If there is a legacy that I would like to leave in the immediate future and during my term in office, it would inter alia be the following: to have brought stability to the NPA, to have regained and entrenched the staff's confidence in the leadership of the NPA and in the NPA as an institution itself. Similarly, to regain and entrench the public confidence in the leadership of the NPA and in the NPA as an institution. It's imperative for us to enhance stakeholder engagements and cooperation with key departments in the justice and crime prevention security cluster and other stakeholders, both domestically and internationally. We need to exercise our responsibilities in synergy with our key stakeholders. It's extremely important, taking my background into consideration and all the time and energy that was spent on me in my early career, that we enhance mentoring, transfer of skills, and transformation initiatives. it's important for me to rebuild the NPA into an institution of excellence and choice. We need to vigorously fight the scourge of corruption, organized crime, and serious economic offences. And of course, last but not least, to maintain a clean audit. I know that will be difficult. I cannot do this alone. I need each and every one of you to commit to this journey which we will walk together. It is only in this way that the integrity of the security of the Republic, the public's confidence in the NPA, and the administration of justice can be guaranteed, and a significant contribution made to peace and security. I once again reassure you today, as I have done last week, that I have the deepest commitment to lead the NPA to a better tomorrow. In our pursuit for justice and to make the Republic a safer place, I am a prosecutor and will remain a prosecutor at heart, a people's lawyer. I thank you.
Colleagues, I hope you have heard what needs to be done. Thank you, NDPP. Just want to remind you from that tone of that speech that our NDPP, it's one of the trainers of the African Prosecutors Association, and he played a significant role in developing the APA's manual that we launched in Kinshasa last year. And I'm hoping NDPP, in the presence of the Minister, that you will keep on supporting our prosecutors in Africa, who are heavily relying on South Africa when it comes to pushing the agenda of the APA and when it comes to training. Thank you, NDPP. Willie, I hope you won't try to beat the NDPP when it comes to time. Yours is just a vote of thanks, Willie. Over to you, Willie.
So today I won't try to compete. But Monday we can start again. Colleagues, mine is just to say a vote of thanks, particularly for the Minister, for coming here and his busy schedule to spend time with us on, I think, a very, very important occasion for us. Minister, I can assure you that we've heard your message about the need to rebuild the NPA, to build the trust that our people should have in the NPA. And I want to add to the NDPP too that I think I can pledge on behalf of all of us sitting here today that you have our support in rebuilding this organization to the pride of place that it should have in our democracy. I must just say one thing about the Minister. You know, I think both of us kind of grew up at a time when our main occupation was to break the law without being caught or successfully prosecuted. So it is a bit like making the wolf into the shepherd, to use an Afrikaans expression. But I think the NPA is really a critical institution for our democracy, and I think that message all of us heard loud and clear. I was also pleased to hear, Shaun, to hear you talking about being lawyers for the people. I think that was one of the early ideas that we strove for, and I think somehow it's got a little bit lost. But for me, it is this idea that the victims of crime are the ones who are really the ones who are defenseless, helpless in many occasions. And it is our role as prosecutors very often to bring them the only justice that they will get. Obviously with our partners in the police and elsewhere. But I think to rebuild the NPA into an organization that we can all be proud of, that people can look up to, that they can look up to for help, is, I think, what is vital for all of us. I think the only other thing that I wanted to say is the message from all of us who heard, for all of us who heard it today is clear, that we need to work together, that we need to heal some of the divisions that there have been in the organization in the past, and that we really need to build the confidence of the public and of our own staff in the leadership of this organization. And we need that by working together and by working hard. And I think those messages came through fairly clearly today. Thank you to all of those who did introductions and else was part of the program. We really look forward to working together for the future. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've almost come to the end of the session. Those who still need to go back to their offices can do so quietly. But now I want to hand over to Luvuyo, our spokesperson, who is going to take us through the media briefing. It's open to everyone, but if you want to go, you can just leave and do so quietly. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director, Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, NPA Leadership Collective, members of the media, NPA family, good afternoon. My name is Luvuyo Mfabu. Mine is very simple, is to facilitate the engagement between the media and the NPA leadership. Those who've got questions that will be directed to the minister, they must indicate so. With all due respect, we do not engage on matters that are still pending in our courts and those that are subject to investigation. So I do not expect to get a question relating to matters that are still pending. Our session would be strictly a question and answer in the true sense of the word. You raise your hand, you be noted, and you fill your question, and the NPA leadership would actually address it, and then we'll move to the following person. Rules of engagement, you identify yourself, the institution that you're coming from. There is a roving mic somewhere. Butomi is going to be running around taking questions. We start right now. Karen, you first, you noted.
My question is to the NDPP. I'm Karen Moore from ENCA. While it is admirable, your ambitions and drive and goals for the NPA, as has been noted time and time again, no NDPP has ever finished his full term in office. And unfortunately, there has been a very fraught history of your predecessors leaving under very unfortunate circumstances. What makes you believe that you will be the first NDPP in South Africa's democratic history to ever complete his term in office? Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Conrad Hansen from the Manor Guardian newspaper. I have two questions for the NDPP. Just in terms of clarity, how old are you? We hear that you're very young. So just to know how old you are. And the second question builds up on what my colleague Karen asked. You talk about being a prosecutor, but besides prosecutorial issues that faces this organization, there's also political issues that have plagued this organization. And you said that that this institution is not politics and you're not a politician. But how then will you be able to, how best are you going to defend yourself from political interference as suspected previously? And to the Minister of Justice, Minister Masutha, we were here less than 2 years ago, where the former Justice Minister was beaming pride of the new NDPP at the time. But how? And then the relationship broke down completely. how are you going to ensure that the relationship between, as the political head and the NDPP is not going to break down, A, and B, is not going to be one of a conflict or political pressure of sorts? Thank you.
Let's take a third question before we respond. Oh, sir, you were.
Yes, this is Ipo Masumbuka for the Times newspaper. Both my questions are directed to the NDPP. We just want to find out, Mr. Advocate Abrahams, whether you can share with us who nominated you to this position, who suggested that you are the best person for the job. And on a lighter note, tell us about your nickname your mother uses for you. How did you end up with such a nickname and how does it make you feel?
Thank you. We'll let the NDPP go first.
Thank you so much, members of the media. In respect to the first question to Karen, I can only aspire to fulfill my full term. I am bound by the Constitution and the rule of law. The second issue, I'm 39 years young. The third question, in essence, I've answered that already. And the question is, how do I protect myself from political interference? I'm a lawyer. I'm an officer of the court. And once again, I want to reiterate that we're bound by the rule of law and the Constitution. There are many factors that one takes into consideration when you look at matters. But ultimately, we are bound by the Constitution and the rule of law and the facts of the matter inherent to that individual matter. With regards to the fourth question, I don't know who nominated me, but I can assure you that the President of the Republic had appointed me. So the last question, as you know, a mother's love has no bounds. And my mother decided to divulge a nickname from me since I was 8 months old. Now I started, and the history behind this, and I can share this with you so we can clear the air. I started walking, at least shuffling, when I was 8 months old, which shows you I've been strong from an early age. And I shuffled somewhat like a little penguin. And my mother decided to call me Pakavenki. So there's the history behind it, and you know, and it stuck. Thank you.
Before we take another round, Minister, would you like to respond?
Well, the question who nominated you was directed at you and not at me, so I will not answer it. Political interference was also directed at you and not at me. So I will not delve into it either. Someone was asked about relationships. Let me reiterate that, like many out there, I did not honestly know this young man, and therefore I didn't have much role to play. It goes without saying in his nomination either. No, I can't guarantee that. That part remains a secret. But I don't think that past or present acquaintances should form the basis for good relations. After all, every relationship has its own beginnings. Hopefully, we will only end our friendships and acquaintances and and so on, when death do us part, regardless of how long our career relationships last. So I really look forward, even beyond our careers, to continue to be friends, since we have become the past few days of your appointment. But I must say that I myself have observed with concern utterances, even at the level of the podium in Parliament, which concerned me. And I hope that going forward, especially colleagues in political circles, will act with some degree of responsibility when they are in that robust mode, as all politicians tend to be from time to time, and realize that there do exist lines that are worth not crossing. So I really wish that going forward, South Africans will exercise their free speech and all the rights they enjoy in the Constitution, Bill of Rights, with a degree of restraint and in a constructive way. Thank you very much.
Let's take UFS. Let's take 4 questions before we close. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Lavoya. Good afternoon. It's Stephen Curtis from Eyewitness News. Advocate Abrahams, good afternoon. I'm sorry to have to ask this straight up, but I'm sure you're aware there's a particular context to your appointment. There is a perception because of the context, and I must stress, not because of anything you yourself have done or said, but the perception is that you have been appointed to protect President Jacob Zuma, the person who has the legal authority to appoint you. Let me put the question bluntly, or give you an opportunity to express yourself, whichever you choose. Are you going to use your position to protect Jacob Zuma? Is the blunt question. And then I fully expect Lavoya to tap me out at this point, but let me try. And Advocate Jeeba, I'm very sorry I don't like to ask a question about someone if they're in the room, but I feel that it must be asked. Criminal charges have been instituted against one of your deputies. Am I being tapped out? I understand, and I understand, but I did want to put the question. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Chibongo from the SABC. I just wanted to find out, there was a recommendation by the High Court in Pretoria regarding the Al-Bashir matter. Are you going to be following that up? And when can we expect some kind of decision in terms of that?
Yes, ma'am. You the last one.
There's another one for you. You can take the last round.
Hi, my name is Sophia from Transcribe News. My question directed to the NDPP. I just wanted to find out if it's possible for you to tell us what's going to be your approach just moving forward, and what's on your agenda after today. What are the top 3 things that you want to be focusing on?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The session is open to members of the media. Our internal stakeholders, our NPA personnel, will have ample opportunity to engage the national director. That is the last. We'll be closing the session. We've closed the session. We'll let the minister and the NDPP respond.
Thank you, members of the media. I think in response to the first question by Stephen Grotius, I can assure you that I don't intend to use my powers to protect anybody. Does that answer your question? And I've not been appointed to protect anybody. Thank you. The Al-Bashir matter, the North Gauteng High Court had made a recommendation that the NDPP looks into the matter. It was not a court order. Obviously, the matter depends on the affidavit filed by the respondents and the reason given by the respondents for failing to adhere to the court order and the interim court order. This is a matter that falls within the domain of the Director of Public Prosecutions of North Gauteng. So in the event that there is a matter to be looked into, the Director of Public Prosecutions in the North Gauteng High Court would look into the matter. Of course, my position would be, depending on the decision the Director of Public Prosecution makes, I may be required to review that decision. What are the first three things? That is the next question. What are the first three things on my schedule going forward? I can't list them off the cuff. There are many issues that the NPA is presently saddled with. Many important issues, none of which take immediate preference. All of these issues need my immediate attention, and so too the senior leadership of this organization, which includes the Deputy National Directors of Public Prosecutions, the Directors of Public Prosecutions, and the Special Directors of Public Prosecutions. Thank you.
Colleagues, media houses present, we have come to the end of the session. Thank you very much for being here, for listening, and for your engagement. Can we all rise so that we can allow the Minister and the NDPP to leave the room?
Only choose the two. No, I'm saying is that an ANC comment? Zulu in the ANC could mean something. It's just. Yeah. Well, the mean is of course one. I'm very glad I didn't have to ask that question. I was not very comfortable asking it. But I was glad when he took me out. I thought that was the right question.
Yes, yes.